What's up guys and welcome to the new video. So as you can see by the title already, this video is all gonna be about the 5 biggest running mistakes that I did, that hopefully by sharing them with you guys, you won't be doing the same. And when you just start out running, maybe it's a bit easier for you to ease into running, or if you're already an avid runner, maybe you're still doing some of these mistakes and they hinder you from improving your running. So without further ado, let's jump right to the first one. So the first one is running too hard on every single run. And this was the biggest mistake for me, because when I started marathon prep, I was crazy eager to just improve on every single run. I wanted to run faster, have a slower heartbeat. I wanted to run further, and just everything within one run, which was absolutely insane and definitely not doable. The thing, however, was that with every exercise or sport you do, if you're still a complete beginner, you will make these so-called noob gains in the beginning, and you will improve quite drastically. So in the beginning I saw a lot of improvements, so I had the mindset of I should improve on every single run. The problem, however, was that, for example, when the training plan said I should do an easy run below my aerobic threshold heart rate, it wasn't like I was taking it easy. I knew I could run up to 155 beats per minute, and I would always run right on the 155 speeds per minute or slightly above, and I would always tell myself oh yeah, it's okay, I can handle all this intensity. But in reality, my body was not up to par with all this training. Because you have to realize, one of the biggest and most important things if you do a long endurance event is that you want to build your aerobic base first. But here's the catch: you can only achieve that if you are training in the appropriate zones. And I don't want to get too much into exercise science here. Just know that, for example, you can split up your training in however zones you want to, but basically, or more generally, most people split it into zone 1 to zone 4, while 1 is being the easiest and lightest, and zone 4 is when you go all out, it's max effort. And aerobic base training, or you train your aerobic base mostly when you're in zone 1 or 2, and if you go above that, you're not really training your aerobic system. Obviously, a marathon isn't something you're gonna run in 30 minutes, so it's not the most important that you train your zone 3 and 4. Yes, you should do that in training as well, but your biggest focus should be in zone 1 and 2, where you build that aerobic base. That was what my biggest downfall was probably in the beginning, is since I was always running too hard, I wasn't actually training in zone 1 and 2, and it's always where you put in that 1 or 2% more that you shouldn't do, that would just accumulate over time. And if you run 6 times a week for a couple of weeks, just 2 or 3, you will already feel that your body isn't adapting quite as well, because it cannot handle all the stress. You maybe heard the famous saying as well, where it goes: you run too much, too soon, too fast. And that is probably one of the biggest mistakes most runners do, because you get that in the beginning, a lot of people get that runner's high, they're very eager, they want to run, and it's not the most ideal thing, because also they say you should run slow to race fast. And now that I experienced running training for several months, I can definitely tell you this is absolutely true. You should take most of your runs pretty easy, and when there's the time to put all your effort in and make the switch, then you can put in 100%, but don't do it on every run. So mistake number 2 I did was to not perform a proper warm-up. And I know we are all guilty of this. I know numerous people always tell me that they do exercise, but when I ask them are you doing a proper warm-up beforehand, they always say no, not really. And I'm guilty of that myself. I know numerous times where I was running, I did a long run or hard interval session, and I didn't do a proper warm-up beforehand, and afterwards I could feel some pain. I was damn, why did you not do your warm-up beforehand? I'm not saying that I know the best formula or the best warm-up. My last video I posted was the 5-minute drill, or running warm-up. I do pretty much every single run I do, and it tremendously changed my running experience, and I'm encouraging you guys to do the same. So I'm going to put it in the info card somewhere up here. So that's why I can only recommend to you guys to perform a warm-up every single time you go out for a run, even if it's just 5 minutes, because it warms up the body, it warms up the muscles that you're about to use. The body will start to generate joint fluid, so it's better, for example, for your knees. Also, your whole mental activity, your brain will be ready to start the exercise. You will feel different. So don't skip your warm-ups, because you will avoid injuries, you will be more healthy, and you can just run more in the long time. So mistake number 3 is maybe individual to me, but that's why it's my list. And the mistake that I did was I didn't have proper gear. And with most people, they probably don't think about running as a real sport. It's rather just exercise, for example, to lose fat or to be a bit more healthy. But a lot of people just think I'm just gonna throw on that like the old sneakers I have from like 10 years ago. It's like an old shirt, and I'm just gonna do a little run. And to be honest, yes, if you just run like once, maybe every 2 weeks for 30 minutes, that is okay. But if you take running seriously, you want to improve in it, I would definitely recommend that you get at least like one base kit of gear of everything. So the most important thing obviously is the trainers, because you want to have something that keeps your feet healthy, because you will do an insane amount of steps if you start running. And I can just recommend you to not go for looks, but actually a shoe that properly fits your feet. And I'm not going to start the whole discussion about like, should you use cushion shoes or should you use like flat minimal shoes, or that's about another video. So I can just recommend, even if you are on a tight budget, at least invest into one trainer. Nothing fancy, doesn't need to have like carbon sole that pushes you forward, just a base trainer that keeps your feet healthy, that you can run. And also the second biggest problem I had with training gear was actually, believe it or not, it was the socks I had. Because when I first started running, I had blisters all over my feet. I had literally on every toe, I had a blister. On my big toes, on my right big toe, I had a blister. Already a callus was growing over it, and it was just like humongous. My toe was just like deformed, and it was definitely not ideal, and I wouldn't recommend to you guys to do the same. And I didn't quite know, or I was very confused why it was happening, because I do have some sports socks and I invested into a good pair of trainers. But the problem was the socks I had a lot of seams, and the seams were always rubbing against my feet. So I hopped on Amazon, I bought some seamless socks, and it took quite a while until my feet were fully recovered, until all the blisters went away, all the dead skin went away. I know it's a bit nasty, but bear with me, because it's definitely something you don't want to do. Because I know I'm a crazy guy when it comes to like a new exercise or exercising in general. I can be very disciplined, and I don't care if anything is hurting or aching. I'm just gonna push through. But a lot of guys and girls out there, they will probably quit because like, I don't want to get all these blisters, it's hurting, and it's not ideal. So you should definitely avoid doing that. So mistake number 4 I did was, data is good, but don't overanalyze it. And what I mean by that is, we live in a day and age where you can slap a sensor on literally everything. It's super easy to get biometric data. Most people that run on a regular basis have like a smartwatch or like a Fitbit or anything where they can track their heart rate, their step count, their distance, whatever you name it. Everything is tracked. You can synchronize it to your phone. It's on your computer. Maybe you have Training Peaks Premium as well. You get like a million different data that you don't even know what it really means. But the problem with that is, I saw it within the running community, is that you get lost in the whole data analyzing process, and you kind of forget the love of why you did running in the first place, or maybe why you're running. Even for a guy like me, where I have this huge goal of like never running and then trying to run a marathon in sub 4 hours, where data is important, where I need to know like if I'm training in the appropriate zones. It's not all about that. Running should also be about being more healthy, more mindful. And I would recommend to you guys that sometimes maybe leave your watch at home, or maybe you can track the run if you really needed to, but you don't check your watch while running, and you just try to soak up whatever scenery you have. You get more mindful about being yourself, and it's not always like, do I have a low heart rate, or did I run anything further, or whatever it is that you have about data. Yes, it's good to analyze, it's know that you are progressing well, but don't get lost in the whole thought process. So mistake number 5 that I did is, I did not do my cross training. And even though I come from a bodybuilding background where I was very used to training legs even twice a week, where I also enjoyed leg training, I wasn't really doing it in the beginning because I was completely wrecked from all the marathon training. I was just like, the thought of training legs was unbearable, and I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm also going to do like squats after running. So I did skip it in the beginning, which I regret now, because you have to realize cross training. You know what, let me whip out the definition for a second. Cross training is the action or practice of engaging in 2 or more sports or types of exercises in order to improve fitness or performance in one's main sport. So what does that mean? That means that, for example, if running is your main sport, weightlifting or whatever you do in that kind of form is your second exercise, which will improve your performance there. And you have to think about this kind of like synergistically, where 1 + 1 = 3 and not 2. Because if you do something like training your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, your lower back, it will actually improve your running so much more. You run around through the wilderness for like 2 hours or something, and you have to keep your whole body upright the whole time. And what do you think? Someone who has more developed back muscles or low back muscles will have it easier, or someone who has no back muscle, low back muscles where he or she is sitting on the desk all the time. Obviously, the person who has developed lower back muscles will have it easier. Same goes with the whole lower legs, all the muscles you have there. So cross training is definitely, I would 100% recommend you to do as well. And it hasn't to be something crazy where you go to the gym and you smash out like 5 to 6 exercises twice a week. It can be as easy as just doing some squats, some lunges at home, but at least trying to develop the muscles that you use while running, also in order to improve one's performance. So this is it already for this video. I tried to keep this one short and sweet and not too long, so you just can like flick through every mistake quite fast. Maybe there was a mistake that you are already doing right now and you think like, I really should change that or should work on that, and maybe I could help you improve your running with this as well. That would be super cool. And otherwise, there's not much for me to say. Like I said, I hope you liked the video, you enjoyed it, you gained some knowledge, and otherwise I'm going to see you in the next one.